So I'm going to be tactically analysing how both managers set up their teams, what Ancelotti changed to get Real Madrid back in the game, what caused PSG's collapse and who is to blame. Is it Pochettino, is it Messi, is it Neymar, or is it the side as a whole? But before I go any further, if you do want to help support the channel, then you can go over to El Clasico Cases and pick up a case to help protect your phone, whilst also getting a fantastic football design as well. My favourite is the Ronaldo Sue one, but they have a great variety of different cases. Also, you can go over to freeretro.com, where they have some great retro jerseys from a number of different clubs. My favourite is probably either this Inter Milan shirt from 1992 or this Celtic shirt, but they have so many great designs, so check that out. Both links to those websites will be in the description below. So going into the game, Carlo Ancelotti set up his Real Madrid side in a 4-3-3 with Toni Kroos playing at the base of central midfield with Valverde and Modric ahead, and Pochettino used a 4-3-3 with Neymar, Messi and Mbappe all starting. From the start of the game, one thing was clear, and that was that Real Madrid were going to press a lot higher up the pitch than they did in the first leg, which wasn't that much of a surprise. Being 1-0 down and at the Bernabeu, you would have expected them to at least try to be on the front foot, and this pressure would prove to be pivotal, but not until the second half. PSG's 4-3-3 would become a 2-3-3-2 shape in possession in the build-up phase, with Verratti and Danilo retaining deeper positions alongside Paredes, allowing the two fullbacks Hakimi and Mendes to sit higher up the pitch, with Messi dropping quite a lot deeper than Neymar, and in theory this would have created more space in midfield for PSG, as what Pochettino may have expected is for the wide attackers of Real Madrid, Vinicius and Asensio, to track back with the fullbacks. See, if Vinicius and Asensio had tracked back with the fullbacks, this would have vacated the space where Verratti and Danilo had dropped into. Therefore, either Modric and Valverde retain a deeper position, remaining vertically compact with Kroos, or they look to push up onto PSG's deeper central midfield players, which in turn would leave the space in behind them for Messi and Neymar to drop into. If PSG could then work the ball into one of those three, Paredes, Verratti or Danilo, then they then would have had the opportunity to play a vertically direct pass to break the midfield line press from Real Madrid and getting the ball into Neymar or Messi either side of Kroos. The Real Madrid fullbacks are then in a dilemma. Do they push inside to close off the space for Neymar and Messi, leaving the space in behind them down the flanks for Hakimi and Mendes to run into? So you can see that PSG's positional shape could have caused Madrid quite a few problems. However, I thought Ancelotti's side dealt with it perfectly. Instead of tracking the fullbacks' movements down the flanks, Vinicius and Asensio retained relatively high, narrow positions, which did give PSG the chance to play a long ball out to the fullbacks. However, I think that Ancelotti calculated that this would be a harder pass to play and PSG would be receiving the ball in a less dangerous, wider position than either Verratti or Danilo centrally or Messi or Neymar in behind their midfield. But whilst Madrid did slow PSG's progression of the ball forward, they weren't pressing aggressively enough to stop them getting out of their defensive third, and so PSG was still able to control possession in the middle third, with Real Madrid then dropping off into a relatively deep and compact 4-5-1 shape, with Valverde sometimes being the player to step out of the midfield line to apply the pressure to PSG's deeper lying central midfielders. Also in the middle third, we would see PSG take up almost a diamond shape in midfield, as Danilo and Verratti would still hold relatively deep positions, allowing Hakimi and Mendes to push further forward into the final third, and Messi was dropping incredibly deep in front of the Real Madrid midfield line, and it seemed like the thinking was that by having Messi drop to this deep position, he could get on the ball a lot easier and more often, and be PSG's main source of advancing the attack into the final third. And you can understand why, as Messi is very good at doing this, as this season he sits fourth out of every player in Europe's top 5 leagues for total progressive passes, behind only Kimmich in third, Cancelo in second and Alexander-Arnold in first, whilst also sitting in fifth for total passes into the penalty area, behind only Bruno Fernandes in fourth, Alexander-Arnold in third, Benzema in second and Cancelo in first. Neymar was situated between the lines, and so PSG were looking to feed the ball into him in behind Real Madrid's midfield three, with Mbappe being given the freedom to drift across that front line into wider positions as Hakimi pushed up aggressively on the right side. However, the issue for PSG was that they already had three central midfielders in that deep position, and so when Messi dropped, they really only had Neymar between the lines and Mbappe in the forward line ahead of play, limiting their forward passes into the final third. Now, they still did of course create some big chances through having Messi, Neymar and Mbappe in central areas. However, I think Messi should have been told to retain a higher position, as Paredes and Verratti are still more than capable of being the players to play those incisive passes into Messi and Neymar between the lines. Now, in the first leg, Real Madrid offered practically nothing going forward, recording an XG of just 0.13 to PSG's 1.91. However, this game was completely different, with PSG recording an XG of 1.43 to Real's 2.12. Now in the first half, PSG without doubt had the better chances, although most of them did stem from Mbappe's individual brilliance. A chance was created when Neymar played an inside pass into Mbappe, and Militao steps out, looking to make the interception, gets his timing completely wrong, but with one touch Mbappe pushes the ball in front of himself, and within half a second he's in a shooting position from where his shot is eventually saved by Courtois. But the bigger threat with Mbappe was on the counter, and I thought Pochettino's attacking plan played perfectly into Mbappe's strength, which was running in behind the Real Madrid back line. The ball was won back in PSG's defensive third, Paredes plays a forward pass into Neymar, and from here Mbappe is already making that run in behind Militao. He races away from the Brazilian and is able to isolate Alaba in a 1v1, but doesn't even have to go past him. Instead, he slots a ball with his right foot hard and low past Courtois at his near post, showing that he can do things that probably no other player on the planet can do to his level. And in the first half, PSG were a bigger threat. With Messi and Neymar moving in field, this left Hakimi and Mendes with the task of providing the movement down the flanks. And here we see that as Neymar drops deep into the half space, he drags Carvajal with him, who doesn't want to hold his position and allow Neymar space to receive the ball and turn. Asensio is caught ball watching, so when Mendes makes a run off of his blind side, is a perfect opportunity for Kimpembe to play a floated pass in behind. Freeing Mendes, and his pullback from Mbappe is finished in the exact same position past Courtois, where Mbappe would score the opener later on in that first half. However, PSG would have to wait for their goal as it was ruled out for offside, with Nuno Mendes making a run too early earlier on in the build-up. In the first half, PSG certainly had the better of the game. Real Madrid looked like they didn't have many ideas in the final third. In their build-up, they would use a 3-4-1-2 of sorts, with Toni Kroos playing that regista role, dropping into the back three at times, allowing the fullbacks to push forward up the pitch, and Asensio would move inside centrally, whilst Vinicius would retain a higher, wider position on the left. PSG didn't press anywhere near as aggressively as they did in the first leg, when they were essentially pressing man-to-man everywhere on the pitch, and so it was much easier for Real Madrid to play out of their defensive third and then into the middle third. PSG were defending quite passively in a narrow 4-3-3, and so because Neymar, Messi and Mbappe were retaining these higher positions, Real had massive amounts of space down the flanks, and so certainly in the first half, a lot of Real Madrid's attacks were progressed down the outside of PSG's 4-3-3. Now Real Madrid looked most threatening when Carvajal was putting in deep crosses into the box for Benzema from the right side, but I thought that Asensio on that right side as well was pretty poor throughout the whole game, not really offering much creative threat. However, credit to Ancelotti, as in the second half he made a change around the 60th minute mark, bringing off the ineffective Asensio for Rodrigo and replacing Kroos with Camavinga in midfield. With Camavinga on the pitch, Real Madrid had greater athleticism and energy in midfield, and this not only allowed them to press higher up the pitch, but also made their press a lot more effective, and we would see this with the first Real Madrid goal. So here, as the ball goes back to PSG's defensive line, you can see Valverde and Modric have pushed up, leaving just Camavinga in the centre, which they would have been more confident to do with him there than with Kroos there, particularly at this stage of the game. Valverde is able to continue the pressure, forcing PSG back to Donnarumma, who should just kick it upfield, but he decides to turn into prime Harry Maguire, allows Benzema to get far too close and completely fucks up the clearance. Vinicius picks it up in the box, plays it across to Benzema, who puts it into the back of the net for 1-1. Now up until this point, PSG had seemed like they were controlling the game, having most of the possession, and having another disallowed goal when Mbappe sent Courtois to the shops with a fantastic reverse step over before putting the ball into the net before it then got disallowed. But the goal that would make it all square in the tie was down to the individual brilliance of 36-year-old Luka Modric. He first makes the interception in his own defensive third from Neymar's pass and then drives forward, racing past Verratti, who allows Modric to run through far too easily, stepping out of the way and making a clear path for Modric to race through, and then the timing and weight of Modric's pass is perfect, freeing Vinicius down the left side, and then the attack simmers out a bit and eventually finds its way back to Modric on the right side, and he has the vision to play a fantastic reverse pass into Benzema, but Marquinhos is far too high. It seems like he's trying to play offside, but Hakimi is keeping Benzema onside, and the Brazilian should just move across to Benzema to close off the opportunity. He doesn't do this, and then he can't recover in time to get a solid block on Benzema's shot, and so can only deflect it over Donnarumma into the net. But after the equaliser, PSG crumble quicker than Joe Biden trying to remember a presidential speech. Verratti tries to play a pass into Idrissa Gueye from the kickoff, but Madrid's energy levels are through the roof by now. Rodrigo makes interception, plays a 1-2, and then because Hakimi is pushed high up the pitch, Vinicius is able to run into the space wide of Marquinhos. The PSG centre-back does well initially to get his body across Vinicius, but then inexplicably plays a stray pass across the box. As the ball is rolling across the box, the spirit of Cristiano Ronaldo descends down in the form of an angel, drops into the body of Benzema, giving him the shooting ability of prime CR7. As the ball rolls into his path, he subtly feathers the ball with the outside of his boot without the need for a touch into the bottom corner past Donnarumma. Cue absolute scenes. From here, PSG were firmly in the mud. They couldn't really get back into the game, failing to create any chances of significance, and their closest chance came when Messi's almost perfect free kick could only drop onto the top of the net. So who is to blame for PSG's exit from the Champions League yet again? Well, Graham Souness quite rightly asked where Pogba was, and to be fair, he didn't have any impact on the match. Some may argue that he plays for Manchester United, which I suppose is a valid response, but it's still a question worth asking. But seriously, an absolute shambles from PSG. Pochettino actually set up the side pretty well, I thought, dominating the first leg, and they really should have won by more, by at least 2-0 in that game. They were completely dominant, but in the second leg, I don't think Pochettino made any substantial tactical errors. He used the ability of Kylian Mbappe to perfection, and for the majority of the tie, I thought PSG defended pretty well. It really was just individual errors that cost PSG. Donnarumma for the first goal has to take the blame. Idrissa Gueye and Marco Verratti have to take some responsibility for not stopping Modric's run for the second goal, with Marquinhos making crucial errors for the second and for the third, a positional error for the second, and then the third was just a clusterfuck of errors. And to be fair, I think Pochettino should have instructed the side to just calm down for at least 5 minutes after the goal. Don't invite pressure, have the fullbacks retain deeper positions and just get back into the game, which honestly they probably could have done after the first Real Madrid goal, but I think this highlighted PSG's lack of real leadership and game management. But despite Mbappe proving he's the best player in the PSG squad, I think Neymar and Messi have both declined significantly. I am thinking of doing a video on Neymar's decline specifically, as well as a video on the simultaneous decline of Messi and Ronaldo, so if you want to see those videos, subscribe to the channel and click the bell for notifications. Check out the links in the description below, and I'll leave some other videos that I think you may enjoy linked down there as well.